Hi everyone. Thanks again for joining us on another edition of the Abroad Live. My name is Yemi and I'm your regular host. And with me today is
I'm Ahmed. So what
Jason.
makes you the regular host? We have like 3 episodes, so
That's regular,
what
right?
makes you regular?
Yeah, you're not going to see a different face like in a long while. So let's start getting used to being the regular host, right?
Okay,
And
sure.
yeah,
This
how was your week? How are you doing?
week was great. I was
Awesome.
just
Nice. It was cool. Yeah, today we promise you we are going to be talking about how to get scholarship funding for your education abroad, whether you want to go to college or you want to go get a degree or you want to go for a master's program. So this week, look for a very cool ambient, look for a very nice place, get a bottle of Coke or a bottle of malt or whatever you want to take.
why you
Um,
advertising for?
and sit down, relax, enjoy this edition. I'm going to be engaging Ahmed today on how to get funding for your schooling. And we are going to be talking specifically about scholarship. How do you get scholarship? How do you get your degree funded? Fully funded, partially funded, whatever it is. Yeah, so as an opener, Ahmed, what do you have to say?
I just welcome everybody here. So if you're just watching for the first time, or if you've been watching, you've not subscribed, subscribe to the channel, like the content. You don't want to miss any of our content. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks. So my first question, let me ask you, what is a scholarship? What does it Why does it matter that I need to get a scholarship?
Okay, so that's a different question now. So if you're
Take it to
watching
the
this video and you're trying to you expect me to answer the question what is a scholarship, then you're probably in the wrong place first.
Okay.
First need to go research and understand what a scholarship means before you watch this. So the essence of this video is to help people who already know what a scholarship is and who are looking to get scholarship, like people that are in the face of taking action. So those are the kind of people like that already know what a scholarship is and trying to get one. So basically, straightforward. Scholarship is just the financial aid that you get to help sponsor your education, and one that you don't have to pay back. Maybe not pay back in cash, because it's a bit nuanced than that. Some of them you have to pay back in service, like you have to do some work to pay back. So there are different kinds of scholarship. But essentially, scholarship helps you pay your education, help you pay your way through your education. So,
Okay. Thanks, Ahmed, for answering that. So let's just go straight into it and talk about, walk our viewers through the process of getting a scholarship. I've applied to a university, I'm trying to get the admission. Wherever I am in that process, how do I get a scholarship?
yeah, absolutely. And feel free to chime in while I'm speaking. First, I want viewers to know that I'll be taking from my own experience and the experience of people that I know, because I had a scholarship. You had a scholarship that funded your degree, and I know a lot of people that did get scholarship to fund their education. So I'll be picking from the experiences. So first thing that I would like to say when it comes to scholarship is a lot of people think you must have graduated with first class or a 2-1 to get a scholarship. Even though the people, like most people that I know actually had first class or 2-1 or that second class upper. I know a good number of people that graduated with second class lower. I even know one specific case of a third class that had a fully funded scholarship. So one good thing about this part of the world is they know things happen in life. So it's not all about whether you excelled, whether you had distinction in your undergrad. A lot of things, people do face challenges in life that impacted their academics and how successful they were. So those things are there. Don't think because you didn't graduate with the first class, you will not attempt scholarship application. No, that's totally wrong. So when you want to apply, know your story very well. That's very important. When you want to apply for a scholarship, know your story very well, then try to align that with different kind of scholarships that are available out there. There are scholarships that are based on merit. For those kind of scholarships, it might be challenging to, if you have maybe if you've had a third class or a pass, might be challenging to get those kind of scholarships because they are mainly based on academic merit. So, but for there are still a ton of scholarships out there that ask you to write essay, and they are based on the story that you write. Like they look at your life holistically, not just the academic part of it. So it's now left for you to tell an amazing story that shows that you're a superstar to get a scholarship. So when you are applying, you need to first identify those scholarships. Once you identify the scholarship, you need to know whether there are scholarships that come by virtue of just applying for admission in those schools. So you need to know those ones. So it means that when you are sending in your application document, know that you are being considered for those scholarships. So you need to make your admission application strong, knowing fully well that you're also being considered for a scholarship. But if you ask to write a separate scholarship essay, then you know you have a different application for the scholarship. Getting this, the one thing that I think I should have mentioned also is the sources of the scholarship. There are myriad of sources out there. Could be your school website. There are a lot of government websites, government sponsored scholarship, even for international students. There are a lot of donors. I mean, just check with your schools. A lot of donors donating to your school that are sponsoring scholarships. And there are corporate organizations also sponsoring scholarships. I mean, there are so many out there. You just need to check all these scholarship portals, and you can see the scholarships. So in the description of this video, we'll put some notable links in there for you to find scholarship online. So having said that, now that you are applying for your scholarship, so your story is very important. And I keep repeating because it's easy for most people with the first class. I mean, it's not a free pass, right? But it's easier for them to get scholarship. But for those that are kind of handicapped in terms of their undergrad degree, they need to know that you could position yourself. It just needs planning. In our last video, you said something about knowing the end state. Where do I want to be in the next 1 year? And start planning towards that. You can actually do that for a scholarship. Assess yourself. What are the deficiencies in my application? Okay, I graduated with a second class lower. This might not really be great for my scholarship application. So what do I do? Oh, they also look at other things in my life. Have I excelled since then? Especially in your career. So you start writing first to address the shortcoming. It's a good trade, like to know that it's even a shortcoming in your application. The fact that you're acknowledging it is important. Don't just gloss over it. State it there that you know that, having had this second class lower or pass or third class is a challenge, but these were the reasons why you had that. You need to clearly state the reason. There are a lot of things. So, I mean, I knew people that were working and going to school at the same time, and it definitely impacted they were just trying to pass every course at 40, 50 just to make sure they stayed in school. So because they had to take care of family, I know people that they had old parents, they were taking care of their old parents. So state those kind of things. It could even be, I've seen someone that wrote that initially he didn't want to take the education path. So he was learning a different skill while also going to school. And eventually it was that skill that he first built his first business with, where he started making money, employed people and all of that. So like, you didn't excel in education because of that reason. You were building something else, and there's proof that thing succeeded to some level. So just tell the story, the reason why you had that deficiency in your academic degree. So because you're going to submit your transcript, so they will see it, and they will see, especially the courses where you fumbled. Yeah, so they will see the details there. So now that you've addressed it, you don't want to stop there. You want to write things that you've done to make up for that deficiency. If you had maybe graduated with a second class lower, and since then you've gone on to acquire a postgraduate diploma, for example. So that's a good thing to mention. So, or a master's degree since that time. That's a good thing to mention. Then emphasize your superpowers, especially in your career, in your professional life, your achievement, the things that you've achieved. Don't forget it's a holistic view of your life, not just the academic portion of it. You need to emphasize those important things and make sure you get strong recommendation letters that actually speak to your strength. I mean, back in Nigeria or Africa in general, I don't know, but I know for Nigeria, we always try to get recommendation letters from highly placed people that will just write generic things about you. When you're getting recommendation letters for scholarship, it might just be your immediate manager or supervisor. It doesn't have to be the CEO, the CFO, or somebody that can actually speak to your strength with examples. So, I mean, in the past, I've received recommendation letters from lecturers, and now I go back and try to read them, and I see Ahmed is a hardworking, obedient.
Generic.
What does that have to do with anything? Like, they're looking for stars, they can make superstars. So they need to speak to your strength, give examples of projects where you excelled, where you showed leadership traits and things like that. So your recommendation letters, very, very important. So you need to make sure that only those that can speak to your strength and talk and speak or write about you as a superstar, those are the kind of people you want recommendation letters from. So I'll just stop here now and see whether you have anything to. I just want to keep talking.
Thanks. I think so. If I would just summarize and just my takeaways from the things that you said is, for scholarship, you need to understand, candidates need to understand, the schools are looking for academic excellence, right? And probably, they want to see exceptional abilities being displayed, or combining the two together, right? And from everything that you've said, is clear, if you have the first class or a strong first degree or second degree, you want to demonstrate it, right? You want to show some of those too with the recommendation letter, with the stories that you are writing, what project have you delivered, how many people have you led, and all of that. So just putting everything together, a key takeaway for candidates as you are applying for scholarship is for you to understand that they want you to demonstrate exceptional ability, academic excellence, leadership, and all of that, because they believe that that's what you are bringing to the school, right? They want you to bring that on as you are coming into that program. And that's the justification for saying we are waiving this fee of you, some other program.
I mean, people need to understand that schools are businesses.
Absolutely.
Right? So ultimately, they want candidates that they're kind of sure they will be successful in life. So those are the kind of candidates they're looking for. So you need to show in your essay or in your recommendation letters that you have that potential to be successful. That's how they build. You see, there are a lot of schools that pride themselves on their alumni network. Yeah, that's because they carefully chose people that will come to their school. They know these people will be successful, build a network. And once they are successful, they are also able to donate,
give back
to scholarship, give back the endowment fund. They're able to put money in it. And so schools are businesses like that. And one thing that I also want to mention is the role of research. Like when you're applying for a specific scholarship, you need to research that scholarship very well. And don't use the same essay for all scholarships. They are all different, right? So you need to check the scholarship details, try to understand what their values are, their goals, and tailor your resume or essay or application letter, whichever one you're writing. Use those common terms that you found in the application, in the essay, the scholarship advertisement or details. Use them also in your own essay, just to align. I mean, there are scholarships that are meant for maybe women, for example. So, as a man, you cannot apply for that, right? So, there are scholarships that are meant for people in engineering or for people that aspire to become leaders in a specific field. So, that's how you want to tailor your application. And
thanks, Ahmed. So generally, I'm looking at an application packet, right? For a scholarship program, and I've heard, people say, or one of the things we know is like you have essays, and I'm happy you've really touched on writing essays and writing your stories. So you have essays, you have recommendation letters, like they ask you some recommendation
Your
letter.
transcript.
Then you hear transcript. Then there's a place of test scores, right?
Yeah.
I'm aware like some schools do give waivers recently. I want you to talk about test scores like GRE, GMAT. What is the role of that, and how can candidates position themselves?
Yeah, I mean that still ties back to like academic prowess, right? So because I've heard about the waivers too, but mostly for MBA candidates, those looking to get into MBA programs. For other programs, I'm not sure whether I've seen a lot of waivers when it comes to GRE tests, when it comes to the tests. So the thing is, it plays a role in that. I mean, that's a new way to demonstrate that you are academically sound, right? And for those that are even trying to make up for not so good undergrad results, so if you just ace your GRE or GMAT, then you're showing that even though then I had this issue in school, maybe I was always a very sick child, so I couldn't do well back in my undergrad. Now you can see that I am awesome based on my GRE or GMAT test score. So that is very important. But I need to emphasize again that it is not the main thing. I'll tell the reason being that, at least for MBA programs, I've helped scores of people prepare their application, right? That have reviewed their application before they submit it. I've seen those that even got waivers for GRE get 100% scholarship. They got 100% scholarship. I've seen people that scored like 336 getting zero scholarship, $0. So it's a holistic view. Don't think because you've scored 330 or 335 out of 340, or you've scored 720, 730 in GMAT that you just get 100% scholarship. It doesn't really work that way. Maybe for some kind of scholarships that only care about test score, but for majority of scholarships that I know, it's usually like a holistic view about who you are, what you've achieved, and other things
Interesting.
they consider. Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, I think that's a very strong point. It's a very valid point to really consider, especially for people out there that are really banking on their first degree or their first class or their academic achievements. Like putting everything all together, being able to tie it into a story and coming up with a compelling application, it's more superior than to say, hey, because you can have 720 like you said and might not really demonstrate anything, right?
Yeah.
But what value are you bringing to the table, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I think that's something really, really very important to consider.
I mean,
Yeah,
people,
go ahead.
you need to. I mean, one thing that I want to say is sometimes when you're writing the essays and preparing your application, sometimes it's hard to do the self-reflection to understand what your superpowers are and talk to people that have worked with you. Try to understand what they think your superpowers are, and in that discovery phase, you learn a lot of things about yourself. You even remember things about yourself that you've not thought about before. So things that you, and coming from Africa, at least, and from Nigeria that I know of, we underestimate a lot of our achievements. We undervalue a lot of our
Absolutely.
achievement. That when you write it out and you're speaking to someone in these colleges that are like, wow, you did this, great. And you're just like, I mean, that's no big deal. Like, I just did this. But then the way, so don't just overlook anything like, oh, this is not a big achievement or something. Like, for example, if I know someone that I was trying to help her. She applied, she got like partial scholarship, I think 30K. I was like, oh, what do I want to do? 30K out of 140K, I have to take this huge loan. I don't want to do that. I was like, okay, let's sit down. Let's look at your profile. Is there anything that you missed out? I mean, it's usually challenging. If you've not included those things in your initial application, it's usually challenging, but find a way to craft it. I'm like, okay, so I'm looking at your LinkedIn now. You got promoted like almost every 2 years in your career. That's great. That's awesome. Like that's something you should have
That's an achievement.
written in your essay, but you didn't. You excluded because you just thought it's no big deal.
Like,
That's a great achievement, like unlike your peers. So you need to really understand your story very well. Think thoroughly to understand that, okay, like nothing, don't take anything for granted, any achievement. Like don't take it, don't just think, oh, this is no big deal. Like,
Yeah.
so, and that's where consulting people that have passed through this
Seriously.
phase also comes
I was
helpful. Like,
was
yeah,
actually going to say that, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is where the place of mentorship,
Yeah.
getting a coach, it's really very important. It's actually really undervalued, like you said. Before you submit your application, before you put in for the whole thing, you need someone to look at it, right? You need a third party to look at it and like, hey, this is what you are missing out. This is actually what I see that you need a third eye to actually look at things, right?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
they make a lot of difference, right? So yeah, so I think moving on from here, we've spoken about, we have discussed
Student loan.
student loan. We're actually still talking about scholarship. I know we have discussed your essays, how to write
Okay.
your stories, crafting your stories. We have spoken about recommendation letters, putting together the whole thing. I want us to talk about interviews briefly, right?
Okay.
So now they've shortlisted me, right? Am I right? I think like there's a place they need to interview you, right? They want
Yeah, I mean,
to
it
face to
depends, right?
okay,
It depends on the kind of scholarship. Some
okay,
scholarships don't have interviews
interviews.
attached to them. You just need to
Yeah.
apply, then you get
Then
to know
they
the
just tell you
result.
you've
Whether
gotten it. Okay.
yeah. So usually when you are tied to your admission, you get to go through the
Go
interview
through that
phase.
phase of
So
interviews.
yeah, so the interview is for me, based on my experience, is just trying to put a face to the name they've been saying. Like, oh, who is this guy that's been saying is a superstar? Who is this lady that she's been saying she's a superstar? I mean, during that interaction, they might be able to tell whether those things are BS or you actually did those things, or whether you actually, because as the kind of leader they will probably be looking at are those that are also able to express themselves, right? So that if you submit an essay that is impeccable, error-free and everything, and you come and you are not even able to articulate one or two sentences,
this is not you.
Oh, it's a red flag. Like, somebody probably wrote that for you, right? So those are the kind of things they will likely want to find. Those that I have seen, the interviews that I have seen are usually like a repetition of what you had in your resume, in your essays, and they are mostly behavioral, as from what I have seen. It's usually like, oh, tell me about the time you did this, tell me about the time you did that, tell me about the time you did this, and you just need to approach it like, usually the general advice is approach it in the STAR method. What was the situation? What was the task? What was the action you took and the result? Essentially, what it means is, if they say, tell me about the time you had to deal with a difficult colleague. So it's more like, oh, this was the situation. Oh, I remember the time when I was working as a customer success manager at XYZ commercial bank. So that was that was setting the tone. So I remember after a particular meeting where we presented our monthly business metrics, I forgot to, or maybe somebody's name, a colleague's name was omitted, and I didn't prepare that. So I noticed, well, this person approached me and I was like, oh, why did you not include my name? I'm like, oh, I didn't prepare this. Sorry, this happened. So that was the situation. Then, like, what was the task? What did you need to do? Okay, because it's a team issue, you didn't want any discord in your team, you had to solve this. So my task was to make sure that issue was resolved, everybody's fine. That was the task. Then what action did you take? Maybe you set up a meeting with your manager, your leadership, or you just set up a lunch for everyone where you could discuss that matter. That was the action you took. Then what was the result? Everybody was happy, fine. Then we made sure that in the future, everybody gets to read the PowerPoint slide before we present it so that we can pick up on those kind of omissions. So just walk through that process, like what was the situation, the task, the action, and the result.
No, I'm smiling
Like that.
I hope
Yeah.
you didn't just tell us your star story.
No, that was not my start story. I've never worked as a customer success manager, so yeah.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, Ahmed. That's really super cool. I hope viewers have really learned a lot. Why I just wanted us to discuss interviews, or basically being able to demonstrate that executive presence, then being able to communicate. Communication, executive presence, bringing that leadership to the boardroom. It's really very important. You
Yeah.
want to put a face into everything that they've read. They've seen your transcript, your first degree, the work experiences that you've put together, your stories and everything. Now they just want to relate with you. And also check in. They want to see your energy. They want to see
Yeah.
what's that passion like. Then they
Yeah.
want to see
Hint in your face when
exactly
you're
the
speaking about
excitement,
those stories.
demonstrate
Like,
that executive presence in that room. And ultimately, they are trying to see, like, does your story really align with our vision and our goal? Though the alignment is what leaders are always looking for. And so once you have that at the back of your mind, as you are telling your stories, as you're answering those questions, you are tying it down back, you are tying it back to, right, what that scholarship board or what that school, or as the case may be, what they are really about. And that is why I believe that my goals and my vision align with that of XYZ, right? So again, back to what you said, to your point, I mean, like, doing your research, it's actually the basis, right? And this is why you need a short-term or a long-term plan in doing all of this. You need to do a research. You need to work back from, hey, I want this funding. These people are providing this scholarship. What is this scholarship about? Why would they give me this scholarship? What are they trying to achieve? What do they stand for? What do they represent? And look at what part of your story aligns with that. Then you can start writing, right?
yeah. I mean, one thing that I also like to say before we round up, like what you just said, that makes perfect sense is people need to also know that when you're applying for scholarships or admission, don't think of it as a one-way thing. Like it should be symbiotic, kind of like you're getting from them, what are they getting from you also, right? So, I mean, not necessarily what you're giving to the scholarship board or the scholarship provider, maybe back to the society. I mean, you need to include that portion in your essay, especially that, okay, maybe part of your long-term goal is also maybe starting something that helps other people also. Or maybe when you get into the school, you are starting this initiative that will help people do this or do that. It's more like, yeah, I'm taking a lot from you, but this was what I'm also bringing to the table, right?
Absolutely.
So, like, you need to, both for admission and scholarship, you need to try to, I mean, just put it in there somewhere that, oh, you're also bringing something to the table. So I'm not just taking from you. It may be now, it may be in the future, like, it may be a midterm goal, or just put it there that you know that you have to give back at some point.
Interesting. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ahmed, for
Yeah.
sharing some of those personal experiences. I believe like this will be very useful for our viewers right there. And if you have any question, please feel free to always reach out to us. You can just send a chat.
One thing that I also do is I'll let us put sample scholarship essays, recommendation letters that have actually won hundreds of thousands of scholarship. Like, let's put it in there that viewers can use as examples, as template for their, I mean, we are not saying you should copy and paste, right? But when you see the narrative, you're able to think through, okay, I think these are the kind of things that I should include in my essay. Yeah. So it would be great to include those kind of resources for the users. Yeah.
Absolutely.
For the
Sounds
viewers.
good.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Thanks, Ahmed. I believe maybe next week we should be talking about networking. Like now that you've gotten your scholarship, you've gotten your funding.
We're not done with funding. Yes, it's
yeah. No, I'm just prepping.
Yeah, there's a third part of funding that we promised to discuss, which
what
is
part is that?
working on campus, off campus, to pay your tuition and other expenses. So, and you will be leading that for us. You will be speaking to that because you did a lot of that while you were in school. So
yeah, we'll do that definitely.
That's very important.
It just occurred to me. I just remember like one of the things I wanted to do was, I mean, just trying to make sure like we are not just all focusing about
money
and all of that, right?
Yeah.
So you've gotten your admission, everything is done. You need to start building network, right? You need to start reaching out to people. How do you do that, right? So just subscribe to the channel. I mean, you have loads and loads of stuffs that you can gain, that you can get if you stay glued to us. Thank you everyone for watching. See you next time.
Yeah, I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.
Yep.